Hey, it's Coach Ariel Anderson here with midlife fertility and pregnancy. And I just am so happy that you're here today. If you're new, welcome and definitely subscribe. And I've got a new video coming out this weekend. And if you're returning, then welcome back because you all, new, old, and not so old, we all make up this circle where we can share ideas and thoughts and really support one another in the midlife path that you're meant to have right now. And if that is creating your baby, your okay, well, I'm just going to keep going. Very strange. All right. So before we dive in, I just wanted to remind you down in the description, I have the link for the 3-day exhale, which is happening next week. Fertility over 40, 35, 50. It's just a place where we can exhale together. And I'm going to do meditations and visualizations. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks to really lay down the foundation for the end of the year madness and the holidays and all those questions and craziness that comes and just launch you into the new year in a beautiful way. I don't know if I'm going to do anything else before the end of the year. I'm trying to just slow down and be present, get some videos out for you, but we're going to discover and decide that together next week. 2nd, the 3rd, and the 4th of November in the morning. And I will send you those details when you sign up. All right, that's out of the way. I just wanted to let you know because I want to create that space for you where you can just go, she understands me, you understand me. And I'm going to keep it pretty intimate, I think, so that we can share things more privately than here, even though I love to share here. More gets shared behind closed doors. So today we're talking about family stories and how this affects your fertility. So we talked a bit last week and in weeks before, we've been talking about loss and fertility and our stories and how these things intermix and intermingle. And the truth is that so often, without meaning to, this history comes in and isn't always playing nice, shall we say. And last week we talked more about your own story and working with your ego and your story and your limiting beliefs and ideas around things. I was talking about my own story and how that was working with Mutz. And there was a moment where something popped up around, well, what about your family? So when I talk about your family, I talk about your inner circle, meaning you, possibly a partner or whoever it is that is in your support team if you're doing it on your own, and your sort of immediate family. And then there's the family that came before you. It could be your mother or father or other guardian and their stories and their stories and their stories going back. So there's two, or even sometimes more than that. You've also got your bonus family or your step family, however you like to call them, where their story deeply affects. So I'm going to start with that because that is a piece. That's the first thing, the first piece that popped up on the path when I was having miscarriage after miscarriage. I definitely realized that a big piece of that was my bonus family story. Now, I want to say with an open heart and full disclosure that there was a lot of emotion and drama in that world in connection to ours. And a big piece of that is around the topic that we've talked about in the last couple of weeks, which is scarcity. Now, I had the intention of coming in with my whole heart. Of course, I'm a human being and I was sleep deprived a lot during that period of time. And, I didn't do everything perfectly. I said snappy, quippy things to friends who passed them along to, the bonus family. That wasn't great. I'll admit that. I can be honest. Sleep deprivation and me, it's like a truth serum. It's like, how are you really feeling? Oops, I meant to not say that. What are you going to do? That's part of my story that affects my fertility. And so one of the pieces that happened was that the kids, the bonus kids, which I know of course is related to bonus family story and probably the ex-wife, her story and her mother's story and the story behind is around scarcity, that there's not enough. And, I'm not going to get into her personal story. That's her story to tell. Let's just say that, like many of us, there were things that could have been better as far as the feeling of abundance and the stress of family and the family dynamics and trust and all of that. And so that rippled out to the kids. And the downside of that, of course, on the fertility is that there was a very, very strong, passionate communication of it is definitely not okay to have another child. And as much as I can be a strong person, and I was like, it's okay, I got it handled. Every time something came in, I had a miscarriage. I don't think that's a coincidence. And I want you just to, I'm telling you this because I want you to be aware of when things happen, that it's not just you. It's not that your body wasn't working right or that, whatever, that you've done something wrong. But sometimes there is energy coming in, somebody else's story, someone else's history. Does that sound at all familiar? Like something that someone else's story is sort of invading in on yours? Oh, hi, Vibrant Immunity, MD. I agree. It wasn't coincidence. No, for sure not. Uh, and then there was the piece, it was the story was like this. There's what I got as a message was that they didn't feel there was enough love or enough money. Those were the two things that came in along with the no baby, because there was this feeling of, but if daddy has another or dad has another child, there won't be enough love for us. The words that came out was, what about our inheritance and things like that. But I knew that under those layers, that the truth was really about love, because most of the time it is about that scarcity. There's not enough love. But anybody here who already has children knows, or if you have loved people in your life, you can love more than one friend, you can love more than one child, more than one parent. And that's so deeply painful and sad to me, because that story was not only bringing sadness and affecting them, but it was deeply affecting us, because it under the surface, while I was like, yeah, we're gonna have our baby, it's all fine and they'll find their way, there was this, it's not allowed. And that history does affect, it deeply affects. And it's sort of sitting there when the doubts come, because you have, when you're starting a business, you're starting, family, or you start a family, being able to hold pregnancy, but your immune system is getting kind of overtaxed with the stress of that. Cortisol levels are going up. Cortisol levels are, I don't know what you just missed, because for some reason, even though it says 690 megabytes, we're still losing connection. What a bizarre reality. That's okay. Trust that it's for a reason. So cortisol levels go up when you're in stress, which does not make a friendly environment for a pregnancy to come and stay and last. It also means that inside of the stress, I totally lost my train of thought. There's a sort of a residual effect. I'm actually smelling on my hands right now. This is kind of a gross reality, but I was out in the yard, and I was finding water from the storm, and I found this vase that my daughter had put all these clippings in because she thought they were pretty. And and there were memories, there were some flowers from, I don't know why we got flowers from something, some memory. And it was all in this vase, and it had that brown water. And I was like, okay, I've had enough of this. It was outside, but I dumped it over the railing, but some of it splashed onto my hand. Do you know what I'm talking about when you take old flower water and you dump it out and you get it on your hand? It just doesn't go away right away. There's this sort of old stench of memories, essentially memories and something. And I'm using this example because I think this is partly what happens, is that history from the bonus family, from your own experiences, maybe of loss, of your own experiences of life and trust or breaking of trust, it all kind of it sort of sits on you and doesn't go away as fast as you'd like it sometimes. Does that sound familiar? Do you know that smell I'm talking about, by the way, where you just can't get it off? It's so gross, and it's so frustrating, because it just, you're constantly reminded of it. And I think that's an interesting analogy, because it's this constant reminder of, oh, why didn't I do that differently? Could I have done something differently to not have this smell on me right now? And I think it's the same kind of thing when you're talking about your history and these layers of history, and how it affects you. It's so true. Yeah, exactly. I had an interesting appointment yesterday with an incredible woman. She's an integrative medicine doctor. I always love this, like you, vibrant immunity, where uh, there's a mixture of East and West, or let's say we call it alternative, but in a lot of cultures, the things that are done are not alternative. So let's just say various types of healing. That mixture is so fantastic because you kind of feel there's a relaxation inside of there of the possibilities and the angles that are being looked at. And exactly this topic came up. It was a long consultation. The first one is always longer. It's the same with me. It's always 90 minutes. It's like you need to get through it and understand it to move forward inside of it, right? And so we were going through it. She was asking me all these questions about my history, and not only, what operations have you had, what accidents, but psychological, just a lot of it. And it was so interesting to me, her response to that. And it was that reminder again of it's not just the big things, because we think about the big traumas. We think about the big traumas and how has it affected you, right? And or our child. And we forget about the small ones too, and how they also layer on top of things and create yet another barrier between you and that sort of receptiveness, that openness, that trust. And so, one of those things that came up is we were talking about how I was always climbing a tree and falling out. And she was like, this is interesting. I was falling a lot. I was having accidents, partly because I was exploring, and we had a whole group of kids, and they were predominantly boys, and they were older, and we wanted to keep up, right? So there would be this sort of, it's not really maybe what I would have done, but I'm going to go forward and do it anyway. And I think there's a theme of this happening right now. You when you look in your past of things that you did that didn't feel intuitively right, it might be decisions you make, health decisions you make, mask no mask, I don't know these days what it is, but uh and then imagine now that this is affecting your relationship with your body. And we've talked a little bit about trust in your body, body talk. And this is interrelated with the family stories, is that you have had experiences where you maybe didn't listen. Yeah, maybe I didn't want to climb that tree. And therefore I fell before I got too high. I don't know. I'm just psychoanalyzing myself. But and I think about for you when there are moments where you've crossed your own boundary, and that is a break of trust with your body and your heart, your spirit, because your spirit or your body is saying no and you're not listening. And then what happens? You have dis-ease, you have illness, you have an accident, because the body's saying, nope, wait a minute, I'm not okay with this, right? I'm going to take a pause. Vibrant emitting, the little things. Wait, I got to move this over. Excuse me. Here we go. The little things cause barriers that we're not even aware of. We seem to only focus on the big traumas and try to fix them. Yes. Yes, absolutely. It's the most obvious that gets our attention. I think that's in general in life that happens, where the most obvious kind of, or the kid that's the noisiest, or the person that's the squeaky wheel gets the oil, right? So that saying's been around forever for a reason. And but it's all those other little things, and sometimes it's that couple of those little things that are really the block. They are really the thing that just, it needs attention. It needs to have you say, I see you, thank you, that gratitude. I get it now. Or even if you don't get it, just still saying thank you for that. And that's why I'm often encouraging you to take moments of silence and to pause. And in fact, just thinking about that right now, you know what, I think it would be great to do that. Let's just take a moment and just take one breath together, in and out, and then just see if anything pops up, just for a moment. And so we're going to take a deep breath in, take it a little bit further than feels normal, and then exhale. And just take a moment. Close your eyes if it helps. And just ask your body, is there something I need to know right now? And maybe the answer doesn't come right now because we're sitting here in our circle together and we're not here. Sometimes it takes longer. I find that I process and do everything longer. Everything takes a little bit more time, or maybe something comes, and you don't have to keep asking. You can just say, just tonight, recheck in, as you go to sleep and see, as you're finally relaxing from the day, unhooking, see if anything comes, and then write it down if you get a chance, or just go to sleep and see if something more comes later. I just wanted to take a moment because I know that I start talking and I'm buzzing uh, and it's so important to come back to the pauses that we're talking about, to let information come. And this information is so key. Yeah, I'm just thinking about that. If this is interesting, please do click like and share it with anybody that you think might need it. Meantime, just coming back to the pauses for a moment, we put music on, we fill up our days, um, schedule ourselves without a lot of breaks between, become taxi drivers for our kids or our family, elders, friends. We're there for friends. We're cleaning, we're working, creating. Just make sure that the pauses come. Sometimes you even notice it in the way you talk. Like I was talking so quickly because before I came on the call, I did have my morning ritual where I had some peace time. And then it's clean up from the floods that we had, checking outlets that are out, trying to solve issues, packing up and getting ready for our family day, all these things, and doing some work, of course, and getting ready for you. So I'm just wondering if anything's come up, if you want to share. Uh, you know, our stories are all unique. Your story is unique. It's going to come up differently. There's also going back into the ancestral stories, which I didn't go into today. I did have in a sort of an awakening at the beginning of COVID, and I'm going to share that next week in a more private space because it's really personal. And the last time I shared and I cried, I was fine. I just realized I'm more comfortable in a private space. I don't know about you. I like to have closed doors and a circle of trust, and I think we have, we're here on YouTube and there is a community and we're here together and it's very open space. So uh, I don't know, I like to create different options, let's say, being open and intimate here but also creating a space that's even, it's like the difference between talking with 50,000 people, not the 50,000 people are clicking on this, but 50,000 people and 20. That for me personally, that room feels different, or even 10 or 5. And if you've noticed in gatherings, like the feeling of um, a gathering when there's more or less people, it's just a different vibe, not better or worse, just different. So that's what my intention is for next week, is a space to provide that more private space next week. Any other questions? I'm sitting here, I wanted to give you your bit of gold and reminder of just sort of not digging in per se. Maybe you're in therapy and things do come up, or therapy is just daily life and being interacting with other people and going, that person came today because of this. Just remember that your fertility it's a powerful and yet delicate creature. Think of it like a fairy or something that is so delicate to the touch, but also very powerful in its energy. And I guess we talk a lot about fairies because I've got a 5-year-old. But yeah, that's what's floating up today, is just that reminder of, your body knows what to do, and working with these things that come up. It's so strong and so beautiful, that gratitude of what comes up is strong. Any questions before I say one last thing? Dun, dun, dun. Okay, I'll give you a minute and I'll just sit here and I'm going to put my spray. I have this really beautiful spray. I used to do aromatherapy when I was doing massage and Reiki and wellness coaching. And then I kind of moved away from it. I don't know why. I didn't find too many things that I like. I use things once in a while. But I really like this one. It's called Communication Spray Beyond Words. I really like that. Uh, One of these days, maybe I'll do a thing like you do, vibrant immunity. Angela, where you are sharing things that you love. I will do that one of these days because there's been some really good and moving things. But I don't want it to feel like a sales pitch because I'm not affiliating with anybody yet. Maybe someday, but not now. But I hope you have things like that too that sort of open things up and clear things. Okay. There are no questions. So I am going to wrap up. I'm going to say again, thank you so much for being here. Definitely jump down in the description and we've got a couple of free things as for, loss and for just setting the tone for your pregnancy. And of course, next week, 3-day exhale, where you can jump in and we'll have a private community next week. And who knows what the future will bring. I'm taking it one day at a time, trying to focus on my own health because that's also what I'm encouraging you to do. And so I'm always reassessing when I sit here with you. And one of those things was about slowing down. So I keep promising at this time of the year, and then something comes up, and I'm gonna let actually you and I, you all and I, we're gonna guide together and decide what happens next. I think because I'm quite satisfied being here with you, and if you need more, then I'll give you more when it's possible. Let's see. Oh, there's one more question. Angela, how can we make it easy to release those negative things that people say about our fertility? Oh, that's such a good question. Maybe that's actually, interestingly enough, that is what we're going to be talking about next week because it's about like for example, the holidays are coming up in my mind, which is why I decided to do this because you're sitting around all those people and they're saying, oh, fertility is so easy for me, or look at my fourth kid, fifth kid, sixth kid, and they're making comments like, aren't you too old, right? All these things. And we're going to actually work more on that next week. I hate to deflect to the to that, but release from our soul. Oh gosh. I honestly believe with my whole heart that it's it's a constant and never ending. Maybe not the answer that you wanted to hear, but I do believe that it's a daily practice to not allow. It's not that you can't allow things in. I do think that you need to create a safe space for yourself. A lot of that is an energetic thing, which we'll do more on next week because we're bumping up on time here. But really on how to work with that. But I think it still gets in. So rather than letting it in and then you lose more energy because you often are going to feel bad if you're anything like me. You feel bad because you've let it in and you know better. And why did I let that in? And then it becomes sort of a double-edged sword that's very, very uncomfortable and unpleasant and not doing you any favors and creating more stress. A big piece of it is really having a daily ritual where you are releasing the things you don't need and receiving what you do. And the thing that happens to a lot of us, most of us, myself, my clients, is that we have a tendency to put a barrier around to keep us safe from the things, but then the other beauties don't get in. It's like your heart has got a barrier around it. Your body has a barrier around it. Oh, and my whole body starts to get warm when I talk about this. That's so bizarre. I love that. That's a good sign. Energy is moving. So that you tend to block out. We talked about that last week as well. You tend to block out everything. So you don't feel the love. You don't feel the support around you. You don't see it, feel it. And it's a complicated creature to really be able to manage to find the way to do that. And I think it's not a quick fix. It's not a one and done. It is an ongoing practice, just like eating well in a way, not perfectly so that you have no joy and you never have that pie that you love, but in a way that is supporting you in a joyful way in your life. Does that make sense at all? I don't know that anything is fully released from your soul, as you're asking here. I do believe that the soul digests it. Let's think of it like that, that you swallow a lot of things. It comes in through your skin, not only toxicities in the environment and the atmosphere as far as, what's in the air and what's in the food specifically. That's part of it, and there's energy there. That's a whole nother episode too. But yet what's coming at you, these comments and things. And I think that when your body isn't in a peace, joy, receptive space, when there's something missing, you're not connected to source fully, or God or goddess, or whatever it is that you believe in, that thing that reminds you that we're connected, that you're connected to something greater. If you believe that, uh, it is the thing that makes the difference. When you have that, when you're feeling in your jingy jing thing, then that stuff doesn't come in the same way. I don't think you're ever going to keep it away. I think that's unrealistic. We have ears, we have eyes, we feel things, but it will affect you differently. Just like there are moments when people would say in the past, like, "Oh, you're single? Oh my God!" And in certain moments when you're feeling low, you're like, "Oh gosh, oh yeah, I am." I mean, I remember this, like, "Oh, I'm 42 and I'm still single. I haven't found the one. Does that say something about me, or what do I?" You go through the spin, 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 and it affects you. And other days I was like, I have a great life. My business was rolling. My friends were lovely. I loved where I lived. Prague was just shining through my port. It's about from the inside out. So I think that's a big piece of it. And if you don't have rituals that are working for you, or a practice, then maybe that's something we can explore next week too, is looking at what might work and giving you some ideas that may be new, or we just do a new twist or something. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really thankful that you showed up here, not just for me and this community, but for yourself, because there's always moments when we're talking and listening, even if it's something you've heard before. Sometimes something comes in, or something gets clicked off and set something in motion. And later in the day, or maybe on the weekend, or in the midst of Halloween, if you celebrate that, something unfolds. And I definitely believe that it's not even necessarily in this moment, but it comes later. There's this aha, because you're aware now of the opening and what makes a difference to you. All right, I'm going to sign off. Have an incredible day. Thank you for being who you are on this planet. Your journey is not finished. Do not give up. Keep going. Your answers are all right there inside of you. I'm just lighting the fire, shedding the light, and hoping and smiling as you find your way. Uh, Take care and see you soon. See you next week, 10 a.m. Pacific. And maybe on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday for the exhale. See you. Bye.